I came here, all three of us have been crammed into this one bedroom, one room, not even a one bedroom apartment. It's like this one house shared by 10 people, and each family had one room.
Hello and welcome to Rev Up Your Potential with Hilda Gan, a show about entrepreneurs, industry experts, thought leaders, and the stories behind their success. I'm your producer, Diana Hong. Today's guest is an award-winning designer who started her career working at an agency where she worked on ad campaigns for companies like Holt Renfrew, IKEA, and Microsoft. She later took the leap and started her own company, designing websites for businesses all over the world, and since then she has served over 500 clients in Toronto, US, and China. In today's episode, she and Hilda will be discussing how she went from working for an agency to starting her own business and what she's learned from hiring 3 business coaches. She will also share with us her marketing experiment, where she tried 37 different methods to generate leads, and she tells us the 3 methods that got her the most results. So please enjoy our conversation with Alice Ma.
I want to say my parents were back in China, they were the visionaries. The reason I say this is that in 1996, when we first came to Canada, we were, I want to say, the first Mandarin settlers or immigrants in Toronto. Toronto was heavily, occupied by Hong Kongese, but as a mainland Chinese, our country has been closed for all these years. And as soon as my parents saw the opportunity in 1994, 1995, my parents decided to sell our house back home, quit both of their very, very good jobs, and decided to move here. So I was 12 years old. I know nothing about Canada. I just know that it's cold. And we arrived in December. So they proved me right. So I came here when I was 12, not speaking any English and doesn't know what I'm in it for. And most importantly, my parents doesn't have a lot of savings because at the time we sold, my parents basically spent all of their money. And with the $2,000-$3,000 that we brought to Canada, we actually borrowed it from friends and family. So we can only sustain here for 6 months to pay for rent. And if we don't make it happen, we're going back home. So that was how we arrived in Canada.
Do you remember whether you went reluctantly or, what were your feelings when they told you we're moving to Canada?
It's actually a very, very mixed feeling. Yeah, I think the first 3 years coming to Canada has been really, really difficult because back home, my dad, he is a university professor, and my mom, she is a professional dancer, and both of them are government jobs. So growing up, I always felt we live in this we're not upper class, but we're living in this middle upper class society. And I have my grandparents, my aunts and uncle, and everybody has great jobs and everybody's doing well. So coming here, it was a big shock, really, for my parents. They have to start from the bottom, not knowing much English from my mom, and doesn't know how to drive. Back home, we had I comfortably had my own bedroom. Life was good. And I came here, all three of us have been crammed into this one bedroom, one room, not even a one bedroom apartment. It's this one house shared by 10 people, and each family had one room. So I slept on the bed with my mom, and my dad slept on the floor the first half a year. So it was very, very difficult. If I knew, I probably would be maybe put me back home for the first 3 years. You guys figure it out, buy a house, and I'll come. But I didn't know. So yeah. So that's. And
I think you were at that age where starting fitting in your adolescence is important, and you were transported into a different place, a different culture, a different language.
Oh, it was very, very shocking. And you brought up a very, very good point because after we settled down in Canada, we didn't know any of the areas. So so we looked for rents that's affordable. Then we moved to Gin and Finch. So yes, rent is very
Oh, yes.
affordable. But we knew nothing, right? We were like these few like Mandarin speaking people, and when we moved to Gin and Finch. So when I went to school, looking back, it's like at the moment it was fun, right? Like I go to class, and I realized I'm one of maybe the only two that's not like in darker skin. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, but then for me was that, how do I make friends? I'm this Chinese girl, barely spoke anything, and there's nobody that looks like me or I can connect with. Um, so two things I felt very interesting was that was one is that I'm Chinese, I'm good in math. So a lot of the classmates
Stereotype.
came to me to help them with math problems. So all of a sudden I became this Chinese popular kid who like helps everybody with their math. So I was that. And then the other thing I thought was very interesting was through my drawings, because I couldn't really communicate. So I ended up drawing these little comics with like little bubbles and stuff. So everybody will come to me if they want like to create a card for their friend or whatnot. And I always do these illustrations and stuff for people. So with that, I made a lot of friends, both in my class and in like other classes. So people knew me as this like nerdy Chinese kid. And that I think it had a big it helped me fitting into the society, and Canada is very very welcoming. But that was sort of my entry into like getting to know people like my age and making friends. So it was quite interesting, and with the art piece, I think that's how later on it kind of shaped me into going down the path of design and arts, because I thought it was like, design and arts doesn't really have like a language or cultural barrier. If you create something, if it's funny and stuff, it's universal, so everybody can understand. So that's yeah.
I love how you say that, because I know who you are and what you do today, and I think the story you're telling us about your earlier days in high school, public school, and the art really resonate for what you do today. Can you kind of help us connect the dots for that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So with the whole arts and so approach, it has always been something I have been doing since I moved here. In China, I never did much of arts. In China, it's all about math and Chinese and science. But coming here, I actually had the opportunity. So because I became quite good at it, it gave me the confidence. So in high school, I applied for a high school that specializes in arts, and at the time there was kind of this diversion of going on to like graphic design and learn how to use Photoshop. So I was one of the few people at a very early on started using Photoshop when I was maybe 13 or 14 years old. So that really gave me an advantage. And with that kind of in my background, when it came to university, I decided to apply for design at OCAD University in downtown. So that was interesting. So like with this, it gave me the confidence. I applied for design. I ended up studying advertising at OCAD, and I went down this path because I've always been known for pretty good at what I do. So it gave me the confidence in OCAD that I ended up doing very well in school. I got like scholarships 3 years out of the 4. I got a very good internship. Then this transfer into leading a job into like a top ad agency in Canada. So that's kind of like my journey from like moving here, now speaking a word to finding my career path. And I want to say I was quite fortunate, because I feel like a lot of people sometimes even like after university and still not too sure what they want to do in life. But for me, the path was pretty clear at an early on age that this is what I wanted to like pursued. And it was interesting, like surprisingly, being Chinese, my parents didn't push me into accounting or didn't push me into like business.
Yeah, I love that I know the stereotyping of math and accounting, but I loved how you shared that your mother was a professional dancer. So I think
Yes.
the empathy was there. They understood because your mother was allowed to
Yeah.
live her dream, even
Yeah.
even though she was an employee of the state. I understand that concept,
Yeah.
but she was gifted in that. So you must have that inside you, and they allowed you
Yeah.
to foster and nurture that. I love too how you sort of said
Yeah.
that became a universal language and that connected
Yeah.
you. And it's almost like I'm hearing things reinforced what you love to do. You said when you were back in China, you did not draw, but you were allowed
No.
here to draw, and people
Yeah.
reinforced that you were good at it. And when you're good at something and
Yeah.
confident, you keep doing it, right? So you're saying, yeah,
Yeah.
this led me down the path, but it's almost like
Yeah.
little nudges reinforcing you along the way to
Totally.
finding your passion,
Totally.
right? Because today,
Yeah.
you have your own company that's
Yeah.
doing what you love to do way back when you were 12 or 13 years
12.
old.
Yeah, this new discovered fund of like passion and love, it just kind of happened. Yeah.
I
And
love how you kind of you're highlighting your career before your business. So one more thing, I want you to share some of the wonderful experiences you had in your industry before you decided
sure.
I'm going to turn this into my own business. So tell us a little bit of
Yeah.
that, and then I want to know how you started your own business.
For sure, for sure. So starting off in advertising hasn't been easy. I'm not going to lie. Like I was in that year of double cohort. So if anybody remember, there was two OAC and the grade 12, 2 years of students all merged into this 1 year together. And I was the grade 12. So we're competing with people who are a year wiser than I am. So already my program is is double the size. And second year into my university days, I remember this clearly. I had a creative director from an ad agency in Toronto coming into our class as a guest speaker, and he said to us, he said, I can look at you guys. There's 30 of you. I can tell you only one of you will make it into this industry, and I can tell who it is. I was like, oh my god, you can tell who it is. He was just telling me telling us how competitive it is. And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, he was right. Out of 100+ students in my year studying advertising to become an art director or a copywriter, only 3 of us made it to advertising, found a job in an ad agency. So everybody else changed careers or went down to a different path. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but it was very, very cutthroat. So I felt like my way into the industry was that I have to get an internship and I have to get a good portfolio. And for anybody who worked in advertising, they would tell you that it's a very male-dominated business. It's very interesting the way that is because so many females study it. Then how come like majority is male driven? It is because once I got in there, I realized everybody is super talented. Everybody is willing to work 80, 90 hours a week. They work weekends and evenings, even when they have kids, have families. It's just that kind of dedication and hard work and whatnot, that kind of passion to drive them to stay in the business. And as a female, it's hard because once you decided to have kids or have a family, putting in that kind of hours just not sustainable. So that's what happens with the advertising industry once I got in, and I was the same. I got my internship at a very big ad agency, and my very first client I remember was TD Bank, was to rebrand TD Bank, and at the time TD Bank they were using like some of the green stuff with the chair, but we decided that it's time for a new look, so like a refresher look. And I was working with a senior art director, and he showed me a lot of the way. So very early on, even as an intern, I was exposed to big projects. Other ones I was working on the side. Usually we're working on 3 or 4 projects at once. So I was doing TD Bank's rebranding. I was working on course lights, like billboard ads, radio commercial, TV ads, and so what we do is that we'll come up with the design, we'll come up with the copywriting, the content, then we'll hire like directors, and directors will hire photographers to make it come to life. So it was a very, very interesting like part of my journey. Then eventually I got into another top ad agency where I worked with like IKEA was one of my early on clients. Whole Renfield, we did a lot of photo shoots, did a lot of like newspaper ads, and so Best Buy, we created back to school campaigns. So it's been a very, very fun journey in there. People are super, super talented. It just like wow, like I remember looking at my 2 bosses, and both happened to be female, and I just thought, oh my god, how do they come up with ideas like this, or how do they use designs so well? And it just blows my mind. So I felt like I was a sponge, like I was just thrown into like the sea of like talented people, and I'm trying to like soak in as much as possible. And I had a lot of my challenges for sure in advertising. I remember the very first time my boss came back from his trip, and he was starting to talk about choosing a soundtrack for one of the TV commercials. And there must be 10 of us gathering around, just standing around having this casual chat about what kind of soundtrack to use. And he started recommending soundtracks like jazz music from the 1970s. And everybody was able to chime in of like, yes, this beat works or that works. And what we're talking about, these are like designers and writers. Nobody is a professional musician, but everybody knew so much about culture. Everybody knows so much about like music and artists. I stood there for like a good 40 minutes. I'm like, everybody is speaking English, and I don't understand a word coming out of and suddenly I realized to be good in this industry, not only have to be talented, good at what you do, but you have to be a student of life and all part of life, whether it's music, whether it's pop culture, whether it's politics, because you just never know when you need that kind of that knowledge to bring a project come to life. So huge challenges.
And I'm glad you point that out, because I think sometimes people don't realize no matter what career or business you have to stay connected with many aspects. What's going on globally, what's going on in economics, what's going on in music, because the end product may need snippets of all these things in life. So you talked about a student for life and learning, because you never know when you will need stuff. When I reflect back on my career and my business, everything that I did really has helped me with my business, because I have this diverse background in nursing and in engineering, and all of my life experiences I've used. So for all those people out there, enjoy the journey that you're on and learn, because that learning, which may seem not so healthy at the time, will help you somewhere down the line. It was meant for you to have that experience, to make you be aware of it and to apply it somewhere down the line. So just try to enjoy that journey, even though I think, oh my God, why am I doing this? I got to get out of here quick, right?
Totally.
I want to get going on your business, because we've had a glimpse of you as that young person growing up. We've had a glimpse of your career in advertising, that cutthroat, innovative business. Then all of a sudden you decided to start your own business. So tell everybody, remind them what that business is again, and how did you decide to start that business?
Absolutely.
what happened
Uh,
that said, I'm doing this?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, like I mentioned in advertising, it's very cutthroat. I was working 80, 100 hours a week. And it was a very interesting time. I've been in the business for about 5, 6 years at the time. I was winning awards. So, like, I won like the first place for my campaign that I designed for IKEA. So with that, it leads me to Cannes International Advertising Festival. So it is like the Oscar of advertising. You have like the top minds in the world coming here, and then little do you know, you're like, okay, I'm pretty good in Canada. Where am I at in the world? And then you see people in Europe, then you see people in Asia. Their culture is different, and they're very free. And then they come with these like ideas. You just like, I never thought of that. It was very, very eye opening. So I came back. I thought about this, and at the time I was getting invited to like pitch for bigger projects, like pitching for Microsoft. And my team, like me and my copywriter, we won the business for the agency, and we were up against like 25 different teams all across Canada. So things like that, it was very, very cool. But because of my experience, and because I was the only, I want to say, 2 or 3 Chinese Mandarin speaking art directors in Canada, I was invited to do these like radio shows and TV like interviews and stuff to talk about like what it's like to be a Chinese art director in Canada. And this started leading me to like opportunities, people wanting me to freelance on the side. I was like, I'm already doing 80 hours a week. I don't know how many more hours I can do to do these like side projects, but they were very interesting. And I thought they were good opportunities. So with that being said, I was working a lot in my job, and I was working a lot on my side projects. And then one day I just clapped. I just cried. I'm usually a very positive person, but I just remember one day I just broke down and cried. I lived at home. I don't have much expenses. My parents are very good to me. I don't have the urge to move out. And then I think that mental stress all these years, like, I never took time to like travel like after university. I just like dive right into the career, gave like 6 years of my time, and every single week I work 80, 90 hours a week. And then finally it just took a toll. I think I just must hit like this depression or anxiety point. I broke down and I just cried in the washroom, and I turned on the shower so people couldn't hear me. And I said, you know what, something has to change. I don't think I can sustain like this. So I decided to take some time off. I thought, I can travel. I can take on, I still have my side projects. You'll keep me afloat. And if half a year later I decided I want to go back to advertising, I will do it. But if I don't go back to advertising, then it's totally okay. Then I'll see what life leads you to. So this starting my business, it wasn't really planned for. It wasn't like, I always had this vision of doing it. It was just like, I love what I do. Like, I love design. I've always loved design. And people like were coming to me, be like, hey, can you help me with this one project? At the time I was doing like in advertising, we had big budgets, we're doing TV commercials. But with smaller businesses, people want websites designed, people want brochure design. So I said, you know what, whatever client asks for, people want me to do for them, I'm totally open to learn. So like back to this whole point of I'm constantly willing to learn. I think like what we know is 20%, what's out there is 80. As long as you're willing to learn, you can always expand. So web design became something, became like a big part of our business. And I think today we do 90% of our business mainly on web, on digital. But if I were to be in advertising, we would still be doing the traditional stuff like the TV commercials or like the radio ads or the print ads. So in a way, I'm glad of this transition. Honestly, it was not like I had this grand plan, I had this like a backup plan, like nothing like that. It was more like I felt like early on, like my passion will drive this, and that's what happened. I was willing to put in the hours and willing to learn, so that's how the business kind of got off the ground. Yeah.
Cool. You talked about this, crying one day, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it had built up. Any insights to that after the fact? Was that a cathartic? Was it, you know, tell us a little bit more, because obviously then that led to a 6-month kind of journey of self-discovery to say, okay, let's just let this evolve, right?
Yeah. So it was like, I think the work pressure is super, super high.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am like, like inside the agency is that I'm competing with people who are like, have more, like who are more senior than I am, who have more experience, who are more connected, who are just more talented than I am. So like there's a lot of that pressure, even within our agency, because we're like the top 5 agency in Canada for like 17 years straight. So we have like the top talent in the entire country.
Yeah, yeah.
Then like outside of it, we're competing with other agencies who also have very, very good talents. So it's just that we're pitching for like Microsoft, and on top of it, I still have like a lot of projects for Best Buy and like Molson Canadian. All that things is coming like on that side, and then on the other side is that like my personal projects and stuff, they were also very, very demanding because they were a very big, they're like I think the top 2 or 3 the biggest film production and film distribution companies in China. So for them is that their demand of my time is also very high because they are used to work with like the top of the top in the industry in China too. So then, and also with the time zone difference is that our nighttime is their daytime. So I ended up having to work like until 2, 3, 4 a.m. so that I can get the stuff to them. So it was just that part of it. It was too much. And on top of it, I live in Richmond Hill and my agency is in downtown. So like on a good day, my commute is like 2.5 hours. On a bad day, it's like 3.5 hours. So like it just all of that combined,
yeah.
And now being able to see my friends, like a lot of my OCAD friends I went to school with, they want to go out for dinner. They're in downtown. They live in downtown. They're like, hey, let's grab dinner. For me, it's like I look at my schedule. Is like 3 weeks out. I'll be like, I cannot see you for another 3 weeks. So I lost touch with a lot of my friends during that time, and it just wasn't like sustainable. But I think on top of it, I saw that if I continue down this journey, I don't think it will get better because as talented as my bosses are also, they still put in the hard work. They still even I'm stick around for another 20 years. This is going to be my life. So that realization scared me.
So let's talk about this realization that this was not sustainable, and then starting your business. What would be some of let's talk about one of the tips that you would recommend for people starting out. Just name one of them.
Starting out. Okay.
Well, they don't have to just start out, but in the business, name one tip in your experience as a business owner. Share one of those things that will help our listeners about their businesses.
Definitely. So this is something I learned now that I've been running my business for 7 years. So one thing I learned is that the initial stage, your hard work and passion is enough to get the business off the ground. As long as you produce something that the market wants, right? If you produce something the market doesn't want, then it doesn't matter. So listen to what the market wants and produce it, and chances are your hard work will be fine, because let's say you don't know all of the variables, but something would caught you in surprise. As long as you're willing to put in the extra additional hours, you learn never make this mistake again, that's fine. But once you grow to a certain point, let's say like 3 years into the business, then you realize your hard work, it just kind of sustains the business. There's no additional growth. And you're still putting in, let's say, 50 hours a week or 1 hour, 60 hours a week. And your revenue doesn't really like grow, even though you wanted to like do things differently, you still put in like hours, but the return just not there anymore. So for the longest time, for like the next 2 3 years, I couldn't figure it out. From my year 3 to like year 5, I just couldn't figure it out. How would I do differently to break myself out of this, like, working hard and not really going anywhere. And chances are, if you love what you do and if you are happy with that kind of income, and then it's okay. But then there's also that part of us that we always want to do better. We also always want to like progress forward. So this is the part I really have to like, again, like, we go back to my cave and really start to like read and learn and think on how we can grow this business beyond just my own power. Like, yes, I have a team, but I'm still putting in the hard work. So then, I hired different business coaches. Like, I had 3 business coach at one time. It's a lot. So what I learned is that there is a big difference between like working in your business and working on your business. So working in your business, meaning like, the technical stuff, right? For me, it's like opening Photoshop and design something, but for somebody else, it will be different. Working on your business, on the other hand, is different. It's about putting systems in place, putting procedures in place, having like, let's say like a hiring, onboarding training for your staff. So things like that. And you know what? And I have to say, majority of the people would rather choose to do the work that they're comfortable with and being that technician, being in the business, because then they feel productive. People are like, they praise for their work, whether you're a barber or like if you are like a designer or you're a writer, people are like, oh, you know what you write is very good, or like, your haircut is fantastic. But they don't really think about the systems. So it's a very big shift in mindset. So nowadays, I tell like business owners who have been in the business for like, for a few years, I tell them they will hit a plateau. And when that happens is that the only way you can break yourself out of that is through systems and procedures. Anything that's repeatable, you're like, okay, somebody is gonna use this again, so let's create processes, let's create templates and stuff. And this way you invest your time once, and then like in the future you don't have to do it all the time. So I guess in a way I feel like embarrassed. It took me 7 years to realize that. I wish I learned much sooner, but
I beg to differ on that, Alice. You and I've known each other for a while. Alice actually joined my women's entrepreneur group probably about 4 years ago now.
Sure,
so that's why I beg to differ. And what I loved about you when you came to those meetings is that you are a systems thinker, that you look at systems. Because I remember one time you said, okay, I need to be better organized. I have now narrowed it down to these 3 different organization software systems. I'm going to analyze these, and then I will decide which one within the week. This was your goal, or within the next month when we report back. And everybody just kind of jaw dropped that you were so analytical, that you've been so progressive. And then all of a sudden, I could hear them say, so Alice, when you find out which one you choose, tell us, because then we'll look at it and say, yeah, that's for me. They'll let you do all the homework and then they'll follow. But I think your advice is really good. When you get to a point where just doing it or just doing the work is not enough. If you're going to grow the business, you got to think smarter, because our time as entrepreneurs is limited, right?
Yes,
and so to find systems that continuously improve, things is really, really beneficial.
It's very, very beneficial. Yeah, because I find that, you know what, at one point you're like, this is a linear growth. I put in 40 hours a week, I get this much pay. I put in 60 hours, systematically it go up like this, right? More hours, like more time, like, you know, like, but that's not growth, because eventually you will cap out at 80 or 100 hours because you don't have any more hours in the day. And then you start to wonder, okay, so how am I going to make this like sustainable? What happens if I take a break? Then what if I don't work? Then what happens? So
it's all about leveraging time. And at the beginning, when you have lots of time and few customers, you can take forever, or not forever, but you can take as long as you want to do it. But once you get to be busy and you want to build the business more, then you need to think about, how can I do that smarter? I know, for example, myself, the first year I had to do my WSIB annual reporting. It took me so long to do it. And I thought, this should not take a half a day. This should not take a half a day. So I actually created a template to say, okay, for this line, you go grab this report and this line in this report. The second year, it only took me a couple of hours. And the subsequent years, it only took me 30 minutes, because I had kept improving the process that I had built. And you are such a systems thinker, and you do have these processes. I know in talking earlier, we talked about tracking everything. Do you want to share with people so that they can learn some of the things that they should be doing and why they should do it? Because I know that's a passion of yours.
Right. Yeah. So Hilda brought up actually very good, two like very, very good 2 points. So the first point is that as an entrepreneur, often we feel like we have to wear many, many different hats. Okay, our schedule is packed and it's busy. So how do you deal with that? Like, where do you spend your time? Now we talk about like now working in the business, working on the business, but what are the things to work on? So 2 things I have, learned about and read a lot about is that as a business owner, you really want to focus on like 2 things, marketing and the innovations. So if you think about this, is that marketing and sales, this is the heart and soul of your business. It doesn't matter what kind of products you sell, as long as there's a market for it, people are willing to pay for it, you have a business. So it's as simple as that. Right? And innovation is something that keeps you ahead of the curve. So like, my analogy is like Tony Stark, the Iron Man, right? Like, what did he do? He stays home and he builds these like innovative things, and he is a very good like marketer. He throws these like out of the world parties and stuff to show his inventions. So that's, in a way, it is what business owners need to be doing. So with that being said, marketing for small business owners is actually very, very difficult. The reason I say this is that for me, working with IKEA, their budget is $15 million a year for advertising. Okay, working with them with that kind of budget, I can do anything. I can hire the best producer in the country. I can go out of town for a photo shoot. I can do, I can hire like the top talents for like, to be starring in the TV commercials. But with a small business owner, every single like dollar is our hard-earned money after all the expenses is paid for. So you got to know, this is the difference is between like $2,000 is either I invest this money into like search engine optimization, or I take, let's say I fix that roof that's leaking in my house. So that's what it comes down to. So as a business owner, I thought it's very important that we figure it out a smart way of tracking our advertising dollars or marketing dollars, so that it produces the best bang for our buck. And I often hear people say like, okay, let me try this strategy. I will know in the next 6 months. And I thought, sure, that's fine, but we want to systematically know if it's going to work or not. So the way that I did it was that I put together this tracking sheet, like this simple Google spreadsheet, okay? And it just like lists all of the things I wanted to try in marketing. So let's say search engine optimization, Google Ads, Facebook, Instagram, WeChat, let's say like YouTube video, like, you listed all the things you can think of, and some are crazier than others. Then horizontally, I list like, okay, who is it involved? So who do I need to hire? Like, do I need my team to do it? Do I need a copywriter? Do I need a video producer? Who do I need? And then another column is like, how many hours does it take to create this piece? And then the third column, I think, was the cost. How much like would it cost us to do this? And then like then I have another column. I called it the expected results, or what do we think this result will be out of 10. So like anything that we think is higher, great. And then then another column was like the actual results after 6 months. So we put together this tracking sheet, and then we started to like systematically grade each one. So we picked the ones that takes the least of the team's time, it takes the least amount of money and resources, and the ones that we think will produce the highest. So we start tracking those, we start testing those first and see the results. So it was very interesting. Last year, I want to say I tried 37 different marketing strategies.
This is you. This is the marketing innovative person that would try all 37.
Tried 37 within a year. So you got to think, right? Within a year, that means every week and a half, we're launching something new to try it out. Yes, some things will take like very less time to try it. For instance, like some things takes less time, but some things takes a long time to like even just like, let's say, put together a newsletter, a drip newsletter. You got to think about content. You got to think about themes. Then you got to organize your list. So that's easily a 2 months kind of job. So out of the 37, it's very interesting. I realized that realistically, there's only 3 or 4 things that actually works. Everything else, like maybe 5 things broke even. Everything else, like it just like doesn't even cover the cost. So like never mind team's time and whatnot, doesn't even cover like, the cost.
So just like the organizational management tool, get to the bottom line and share with us what were the 3 things that worked. I think this exercise that you shared shows the kind of person you are, the person that's driven to do stuff, action oriented and methodical. So without further ado, share with us what those 3 things that worked.
3 things. Okay. All right. Sounds good. So very interestingly, okay, so looking at the numbers, one thing that works for sure is referrals. Okay, referrals. I know people talk about this all the time, or asking for referrals. People are shy about it and whatnot. So with referrals, we try different referral strategies. So we try like referral marketing, joining groups where we refer business to people that we trust and stuff. So that brings in a lot of business. Referrals by outreaching to previous clients and telling them that, hey, we're referring, like if you, for every client that you refer us, we will give you, let's say, we'll give you like a gift, or like we'll give you a discount, or we'll give you like a $200 credit for whatever you need us for and stuff. So things like that. That itself brings in business. And referral, believe it or not, it is the cheapest way to do it, if not free. So referral marketing, I want to say today probably accounts for 50% of our business revenue. So even on the days we don't do any advertising, with the database that we have, with the messaging that we have, you create these referral cards and stuff. But you got to try the message, right? Some people, like some clients might prefer like one gift over another. Some clients prefer for money. So you got to try it out and see what's the tipping point. So number 1 is referrals. Number 2 is actually your online presence / search engine optimization. So what does that mean? If you have a good website and it's ranked relatively high on let's say on Google first page or whatnot, you will get hits, you will get traffic, and so without you doing any kind of work. So for us is that was the one thing that's tried and proven, that I want to say accounts for about 33% of our business today. So even without spending any advertising dollar, with referrals and with where we rank on Google, it's enough to give us about 88% of our revenue. Then the other thing that's interesting that worked is actually finding your company's unique selling proposition. So this is something, I'm quite, again, like ashamed of, because it took me 6 years to figure this out, especially with a advertising and marketing background. I thought I would have this like pinned down very, very quickly. But no, like if you think about it, as a web designer, for instance, there's so many of us, and everybody will talk about how passionate they are with their business and all that. But really, what really differentiates you, and that sometimes can be scary. I can take a hard look at myself. Am I the number one designer in Canada? Probably not. Am I top 5? I am top 5. But is that enough to say? So like, what is really uniquely to your business, and that actually matters to your clients. So this discovery, trying out different messages, you have no idea how many times I have like updated our website and trying different messaging. And the first 6 years, everything and we try a lot of messages, it just doesn't resonate, it doesn't click. Then finally we discovered, we tried something very bold. We tried, let's say, money back guarantee. If you don't love what we design, we will give your money back. So things like that actually worked. So, but it was very, very scary on the entrepreneur side, because we're taking the risk, clients aren't. So it was very hard to test. And I had a lot of objections, because people are like, well, what if this happens? And staff, like, can your staff actually deliver? Because I'm not the only one who's doing all the design work. Now they are accountable for as well. So people are afraid to make big, bold statements. But once you discover that statement, what we find is that with all the referrals and the leads coming in, the conversion rate increased. So let's say before, our conversion rate was 30%. With our bold guarantee and warranty, then suddenly our conversion rate goes to like 50% or more, without really spending the money to do like anything, like to drive traffic in or whatnot. So if you think about it, out of the 3 strategies, like finding a very good unique selling proposition that differentiates you, it's actually free, but it takes brain power, it takes time to test and try it out. So that's why I feel like it's such a golden piece for all business owners to really explore and really think about. And then referral marketing, in a way, is free too, because instead of you paying ads to Google and whatnot, and not knowing what kind of returns you will get, having relationships and asking for referrals in a way that's that fits your value and whatnot, it is pretty much free too. And the only thing you really have to work on is like make sure you have, if people come to your site, you get these referrals. When they check you out before they meet you, you give them a solid, you give them confidence that your company can deliver. So that's through a website or whatnot. And that's tried and true methods. I can tell you about Google ads. I can tell you about Facebook ads. I can tell you about LinkedIn. I can tell you a lot of the things. Most breaks, like some of these few things breaks even. The rest, everything else I tried, didn't work.
I find, because you've been in the advertising business, that insight to our listeners is invaluable. I love how you shared what those top 3 of all the 37 things you did really helped you. And then not only did you tell us what they were, you gave us statistics on that in terms of your sales. Again, reinforcing how you track everything and you're on top. So as entrepreneurs, it's fun, or it should be fun and a little bit anxious
Yeah.
to run your business, but you really do have to focus on the business, not just focusing in the work of the business, but focusing on building the business. And
Yeah.
your insights and your data driven insights has really, really been helpful. It's been a pleasure having you here today. I hope that other people are enjoying the talk, because the insights you give, and marketing is always foremost on everybody's mind. So this is really great. I've actually asked you to update my website. My website was 3 years old, and my company had grown by 3 years, but we hadn't updated our website. And I knew I needed a new one. So I entrusted it to you. It got launched earlier this year, and it's so beautiful. And so I would highly
Thank
recommend people
you.
visit my website at www.peoplebrightconsulting.com to have a look at some of your creative work. What I'd like to do is really thank you now, Alice, for sharing your wisdom, your insights, your very analytical mind with the statistics. Hopefully this inspires all of us who love what we do, but maybe the detail part is not foremost on our mind, but it really does help if we want to keep moving our businesses along. So thank you for those helpful hints. How do people get a hold of you and take advantage of your expertise in your business?
Absolutely, absolutely. So you can definitely come onto our website, magentadesign.ca, and you can book a free consultation. So I usually spend about 30 minutes getting to know about clients, and if you need a website audit, I can give you some tips and ideas on what to do, or I can show you whether wherever you are today, whether you feel like your site is here, you want to get to there, like wherever you are, I can give you some tips and ideas, and give you some ideas on this. Yeah.